So, a little while back, I did a video where I reviewed the spawn rooms from every Treyarch map, from World at War to Black Ops Cold War, because that is every Treyarch Zombies game that's currently out. But in that video, the spawn room from 9 was excluded based on a technicality. That technicality being a gate, which did upset the 9 fans. And understandably so, because all pretentiousness aside, the arena from 9 is that map's spawn room, and it is one of the best ones that there is. So today, I'm going to do it justice and properly review it. When you start a match on 9, you do not start in the arena, but rather in one of the tunnels leading towards it. This does completely break the continuity from the intro cutscene, and a round 1 Blightfather boss fight would have been pretty cool, but getting to hear the crowd react as you step out into the light, and getting to take in your surroundings on your own makes for a much more immersive experience than any cutscene could have been. For a moment, while you take in the sights and the sounds, you really do feel like some sort of gladiatorial champion. But then, the game begins, as indicated by the diegetic music, and over all the other noise in here you can very clearly hear the zombies as they make their way into the arena. It almost feels like the world around you shrinks. One moment you're all caught up in the spectacle of this grandiose coliseum, but then the zombies appear and all that matters is whatever's going on within these walls. And maybe now you notice the blood in the sand, the discarded shields, and even the corpses of previous contestants. And suddenly everything starts to look really bleak. Overall, this whole introduction only lasts a few seconds, and the sequence of events may vary a little from person to person, but it is an incredibly effective way to establish the tone of this map. Once the game starts, you'll notice that the early round zombies move a little bit faster than usual, which better matches the more energetic pacing that was set up by the intro sequence, but it also helps to compensate for the size of this room. It is easily the biggest and most spacious area on the map, which is why this is where most players are going to be spending the majority of their time, especially in solo. And that is perfectly appropriate. It would have been really weird if the best place to be was somewhere that the crowd could not see you. I mean, most high round strategies for this map do take place elsewhere, but for more casual games, this is where players are going to be. In fact, the map itself basically encourages this. First of all, 9 is completely symmetrical, with the arena being right in the center. There are paths leading to each of the 4 god towers, which makes this spawn room a very good starting point for wherever you want to go. But despite its symmetry, progressing through this map still feels good thanks to the Zeus and Odin towers being locked from the arena side. This prevents players from having access to the best wall guns, the shield, and the Pack-a-Punch too early, but it also ensures that they will explore the tunnels below, where there is a night and day difference between the two environments. The challenge banners, as well as the rewards for completing them, are obtained from here, and I do really like that to claim one of the banners you have to cut it with your knife. It could have just as easily been a hold X or square or F type of situation, but tiny details like this really add to the atmosphere and it shows the passion that went into this map. It's also pretty cool that you get to choose which of the gods' banners to claim. Not that it makes any real difference gameplay-wise, but any extra bit of player agency helps. And of course, the rewards are pretty valuable, which really helps during the Easter egg. There are actually several Easter egg steps that do take place in here, whether it be more minor things like collecting items, or more major steps like surviving an onslaught. And as you appease the gods, you can see the eyes on their statues light up, which is a really cool in-universe way of seeing your progress. Although I guess technically this isn't really a detail about the spawn room, but it is where you can see it best. The portal to get to the boss fight is also in here, and I actually really like that it's in the second tunnel, opposite of the one that you initially spawn in. I just think it's kind of neat that you get to enter the map through one side and exit through the other. And when you complete the Easter egg, the outro cutscene does take place here in spawn. It may not be super obvious with all the close-up shots, and the fact that you were just somewhere else, but you can definitely see it back there. There's the crowd affinity mechanic where items, both good and bad, will be thrown into the arena for you, which obviously encourages you to be in spawn to receive them, but if you're not there, the game will wait for you to return before throwing in the items, which is pretty nice because it lets you play the game at your own pace instead of pressuring you to go back to spawn whenever it decides. But one of my favorite details about this spawn room is that the price of the first doors are higher than any other map in Black Ops 4, either 750 points in solo or 1000 in co-op. So players are forced to stay in here a little bit longer than usual, and they become a bit more acquainted with the room. Honestly, I kind of wish that this was the case on all the other maps, but at least they did do it for the one that's basically built around its spawn room. However, just because this room is the best place to be doesn't mean you will not be challenged here. In the center of this large circular room is the challenge podium, which you can use to cut through the middle of the arena, and you may be tempted to step up here mid-round to claim some rewards, but it's so narrow that there's a very high risk of you getting caught and killed while you're there. So you're better off just running trains around it. But on the left and right sides of the arena are 2 pyres acting as both a physical and visual obstruction, and the enemies will come in from everywhere. over the walls, from the towers, under the challenge podium, even from the 2 entrance tunnels. And then, on top of that, after a few rounds, fire will begin to shoot out of 4 vents running diagonally across the room, dividing it into 4 sections. It does a considerable amount of damage if you choose to run through it, and it lasts long enough that you may end up getting trapped in a bad situation, so the best thing to do is to try and match the pattern at which the fire ignites, which changes every round. They may all go off at the same time, they may alternate, some of them may not be active during some rounds, and sometimes there's no fire at all, which is always a welcome respite. It definitely sounds like a lot to throw at players, but it keeps the difficulty fair and it adds some variety to each round, which keeps people engaged as they run in circles. Had this instead just been a flat open area with no obstacles or hazards, like a real arena, then 9 would have been a really boring map. Overall, the only thing I would change about 9's spawn room is the challenges and the rewards from each banner. It would have been cool if each one offered a different experience, but even then that might be more of a criticism of the map rather than the spawn room. Other than that, I think this spawn room is perfect. It's immersive, it's challenging yet fair, and it's extremely important to the map. I'd even say that the arena would have made for a really good survival map, had Treyarch kept making those after Black Ops 2. Just change up the wall guns, add a box, and maybe a pack-a-punch too, and it'd be a fun, simple experience. Actually, I'm kind of surprised that no one's done that in Black Ops 3 yet. Can somebody please make that? But anyway, with all that, I think that the spawn room from 9 deserves a 9 out of 9.